Sometimes theists will tell me that, as an atheist, the burden of proof is on me, that I have to prove that there's no God. No, I don't, and the reason is very simple. I don't have to prove that there's no God because I'm not claiming that there's no God. I'm not even claiming that people shouldn't believe in God. I'm simply not convinced that there is a God, and to say that I carry a burden of proof is to assume that I have to justify my lack of belief. There are plenty of atheists who do claim that there is no God, but that's not what I'm doing on this channel. My videos simply explain why I don't find apologist arguments convincing. Some folks think that when I make a video rebutting some apologist's argument, I'm arguing the opposite. This is not the case. Pointing out that an argument is fallacious is not the same as claiming that its conclusion is necessarily false. Say somebody argues that premise 1, otters are mammals, Premise 2, Socrates is mortal. Therefore, conclusion, Jimmy Hoffa died of suicide. Do I have to prove that Jimmy Hoffa didn't die of suicide in order to show that this argument is fallacious? Obviously not. I just have to explain why I don't find it convincing. It's a non sequitur. And that's all I really try to do when I offer rebuttals to arguments made by apologists. I simply explain why their arguments don't convince me. I have no burden of proof because I'm not making any claim or even a counterclaim. I'm not trying to convince anyone that God doesn't exist. In a discussion between someone who is trying to convince and someone who is yet to be convinced, it is only the person trying to do the convincing who carries a burden of proof. Someone who is not trying to convince anyone of anything obviously doesn't have to present proof of anything. I'm not trying to turn anyone into an atheist, but there are plenty of Christians who want to turn atheists into Christians. If Christians want me to be Christian, they have to meet my epistemic standards. I am under no obligation to adopt theirs. That's another reason presuppositionalism doesn't work. If Cy Ten Bruggencate doesn't want to give me evidence, that's fine, but he's never going to convert me to Christianity without it. Some theists will argue that an atheist who claims that there is no God does carry a burden of proof. I'm not sure that's the case, but let's assume it is. Even if the atheists who say there is no God carry a burden of proof, the atheists who are simply not convinced that there is a God and make no counterclaim certainly do not carry a burden of proof.